I wonder how many people are figuring out, damn, I shouldn't leave a CFL game early. Well, when I recap the last game of what happened this past month, you'll see what I mean here, as it's time for another episode of... Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to my Calgary Stampeders this month, Season 2, Episode 2, as I'll recap how things went for my Calgary Stampeders June 2019 here, as we had technically we had a game in May, so I had a May episode, and that was kind of a preseason episode for myself, as slowly we're getting into CFL and Stampeder mode at this time of year, as hockey season's wrapped up, cross season's wrapped up, and here we are entering the summer here. And as I say, if you left the game early, the last game of this month, you might be regretting that decision here. But I'm going to say this month here, this whole defending the Grey Cup thing and winning it at home, I don't think it's going to be as easy as planned here. I mean, if you look back at my roster video there, I mean, it's definitely not the same team here, and you know what? It's has plus some injuries. We didn't think it was going to be easy here, but we'll see here as we're just starting out the regular season here, and if you are new to this, I recap how things went the past month and look ahead to the schedule the next month here. And if you're welcome back, welcome back. And if you watch my other sports content, I say thanks for following along. And most recently, I want to say thanks to everyone who subscribed when I did my Calgary Flames entry draft recap video there. But I do all Calgary sports here, so as a season ticket holder for the Calgary Stampeders, this is actually my 23rd season. This is one of my specialties here, so let's cut to the chase here. Let's bring up my notes here, and let's recap how June 2019 went for the Calgary Stampeders here. So actually, the first game of June was the second preseason game. This happened on Friday, June the 7th, week 2 of the preseason here, as we were taking on the BC Lions at BC Place. That was an 8 p.m. kickoff there, and I'll just quickly go over that. It was a pretty good game for preseason, second week to decide roster cuts there, and I mean, I made that roster video, obviously, after when all the cuts were made. Well, I could just sum it up that BC had a 13-9 lead after the first quarter there. But then the Calgary Stampeders came back and enjoyed a 30-21 lead at the halftime there. And then both teams traded 3 points in the third quarter here, until eventually the BC Lions rallied late and got a last-minute touchdown there. So they won the second preseason game 38-36 there. So after if you go back to my May episode there, where we beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders at home 37-1 there, the Calgary Stampeders were 1-1 in preseason, but that's preseason there. So before we get into the regular season here, just going to throw in some extra tidbits here, that the team captains were named after the cuts and that. The team captains for the Calgary Stampeders is Bo Levi Mitchell, Brandon Smith, Jamar Wall, and Rene Paredes is pretty much the longest serving members of the team here. And then the TSN, right before the regular season, they released their top 50 players here, and 5 Calgary Stampeders made the exclusive top 50 lists that TSN picked out. Number 1 is our quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell there. The next Calgary Stampeder to make the list, number 29, was offensive lineman Derek Dennis here. And then number 31, wide receiver Kamar Jordan here, who is still recovering from his injury there, but some say he should be back in time for Labor Day. And if you watch Season 1 there, up until Labor Day, Kamar Jordan was in the top 5 in receiving there before he had that devastating knee injury there. So that was 31. Number 34, Eric Rogers, and so far he's been proven big. And then last is number 43, our running back, Don Jackson there. So those are the 5 Calgary Stampeders that made the TSN's top 50 list there. So anyway, let's get going to the regular season here. So week 1, it's happened on Saturday, June the 15th. We were taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks, home at McMahon Stadium at 5 p.m. kickoff. Generally, this game, or usually the CFL schedules the Grey Cup rematch for week 1 or as early as possible there, with the home team more often than not the team that was on the right end of the Grey Cup win there. And I'm going to say the defense of the Grey Cup now officially begins for the Calgary Stampeders here, but I'm going to also say this was a rematch more in name only, because both teams had a lot of roster turnover. I mean, through free agency, and Calgary's case on defense, I mean, we lost a few key guys who are trying their luck down in the NFL there. But if you watch my flag raising video that I captured on my smartphone there from my seat there, Alex Singleton was at least at the game to raise the flag there, but he's trying his luck with the Philadelphia Eagles here. So I said it was a completely different team for both sides of the roster here, and things actually look great for the Calgary Stampeders early in this game here, as Calgary had a interception picked up, one by Trey Roberson here to set up a short field here. And then Calgary eventually scored their first touchdown there to give Calgary an early lead here. However, Ottawa, led by Dominique Davis here, who actually he looked like he actually has some upside and might actually be more of an exciting quarterback for Ottawa fans compared to Trevor Harris, because he's more of a scrambling quarterback here. Did answer back there, but Ottawa did score a touchdown, but then missed the point after, 2-point conversion there. So it was 7-6 for the Calgary Stampeders there in the fourth quarter here. And then Calgary added a 42-yard field goal there. And there was another interception by Trey Roberson here that set up Calgary at midfield there. And then Juan Brescison, the wide receiver for the Calgary Stampeders, had a 50-yard reception for a touchdown. And Reggie Bagleton completed a 2-point conversion there. So after the first quarter, it was 18-6 for the Calgary Stampeders here. Things are looking good. Dream season for defending the cup and keeping it home this year is on. Well, it's still early here, but however, Ottawa did come back in the second quarter there. I mean, Calgary had another field goal there to take a 21-6 lead there, but Ottawa had sustained some long drives there and punched it in with a short run to get a touchdown there. And then Ottawa got the ball back late in the second quarter there on a fumble recovery. And then they scored yet another field goal. So next thing you know, halftime, it's now a 21-17 game for the Calgary Stampeders here. The only thing we can highlight in the third quarter here for the game on both sides is that Brendan Smith actually had a pick six. One of the veterans that's on the team, the longest-serving Calgary Stampeder, who's been on 3 Grey Cup teams, had a pick six there, showing he still has a lot to still offer to the team there. Turned it to the house and made it 28-21, and that was the score. Out of 3 quarters there, Calgary had a 28-21 lead there. However, the Ottawa Red Blacks definitely took over the fourth quarter there. I mean, the single and the field goal that Ottawa scored to cut things down to make it 28-25 for the Calgary Stampeders here. But the dangle happened here is that late in the fourth quarter there, Ottawa drove down to score a touchdown late there to take a 32-28 lead there. Calgary still had a chance to answer back with a potential touchdown late to win this one late. However, Calgary was marching the ball down there, and then unfortunately it felt too similar to the 105th Grey Cup there when I was in the snow that Bo Levi Mitchell was going for the end zone here. However, in this situation, we were down by 4 points there instead of 3 at the Grey Cup that I'm referring to. Threw an interception in the end zone late, and that's pretty much sealed the fate as the Ottawa Redblacks. They took this game 32-28, winning the season opener here, and this is the first time since Ottawa came back in the league as the Redblacks beat the Calgary Stampeders at home here. But that wasn't the only loss of the game there, as one of the players that we counted on to be one of the middle linebackers for the Calgary Stampeders, Junior Turner there. He had a injury there, and knee injury there, and looks like his 2019 is done here. So we definitely not starting off the 2019 season as we hoped here. To highlight players on both sides of the ball here, well, I'm going to highlight that Trey Roberson definitely was the player of the game there. He had 4 tackles and 3 interceptions there, so he's definitely not having a sophomore jinx there. I was joking that after that game he's on pace for 54 interceptions this year. Brandon Smith, the leader, also had 4 tackles and 1 interception, which was the pick 6 there. And then the lead receiver for the Calgary Stampeders this game was Jerome Breskison with 4 catches, 60 yards, including that 50-yarder for the touchdown there in the in the first quarter there. And then John Jackson, one of the things that was very prevalent, that I'm going to say this month here, is that our running game right now is off to a very slow start here. As Don Jackson, he had 9 carries, he only had 22 yards here. And Bo, he had a so-so game here, although the yards look pretty good. I mean, he was 23 of 39. He had 275 yards passing with the 1 touchdown and 1 interception here. So, I mean, our numbers look fairly average here on the offense here. But the one thing that definitely is going to highlight when I go over Ottawa's numbers here is that our defense, despite making some plays on the interception there, we still allowed over 400 yards on Ottawa's side here. As if you look on the Ottawa side of the ball there, the running back, Moses Madu there, he's definitely filling in for William Powell here. He's on 24 carries. He had 112 yards here. So Moses Madu definitely looked good there. And then, while they lost Trevor Harris, well, they still have RJ Harris, one of their top receivers. He had 6 catches for 82 yards here, and then Brad Sinopoli is still with the Ottawa Redblacks, the former Stampeder quarterback that turned into receiver, and then decided to go home for free agency there. He had 7 catches for 75 yards here, and then Dominic Davis here. I mean, he had some interesting numbers here where he was 29 for 44. He threw for 276 yards, 1 more yard than Bo did. Didn't throw any interceptions or throw touchdowns, but he threw for 4 interceptions. However, he did run in 3 touchdowns himself there, so it would definitely be interesting if you picked him on your fantasy there, that he scored some touchdowns, but he threw some interceptions there. So, however, based on what I saw from the Ottawa Redblacks here and what I've seen from the Ottawa Redblacks so far early in the season here, I might have underestimated the Ottawa Redblacks if you go back to my predictions video there, but I will be making an update video Labor Day weekend, as some CFL fans say the real season doesn't start till then there. So, fortunately, we go into the bye week, week 2, one of our 3 bye weeks of the year, with a loss here. So, the week 2, we had a bye week, but we did sign defensive lineman Jabbar Westerman. We definitely could have used some help there with Junior Turner going out. He previously played with the BC Lions and most recently with the Montreal Alouettes there, so we did get some veteran help here in the bye week. So that was week 2. So week 3, this will be the last game of June here. This happened on Saturday, June the 29th here, week 3. And this is where we go back to the opening there that maybe you shouldn't leave the CFL game early here, because that's what makes our Canadian game beautiful here. Is no lead is safe here is when I get to the recap here. So week 3 we were taking on the BC Lions at McMahon Stadium, 5 p.m. kickoff here. This happened to be it seemed a little early in my books, but it was actually the fan appreciation game, and maybe how this game played out. Maybe that's one way to show appreciation to the fans here. Also, I like this game. That was kind of a reunion game, because a lot of former Stampeders were, like Lamar Durant signed with the BC Lions in the off-season there. He's from, he went to Simon Fraser University there, but he was the top Canadian at the Grey Cup there. But we have a lot of former Stampeders on the coaching staff there, with Devon Claybrooks, our former defense coordinator, now head coach of the Lions there. Nick Lewis is the receivers coach, and Drew Tate is the quarterbacks coach there. So they have a pretty young coaching staff there, with a few prominent former Stampeders on the BC Lions side here. But the other thing that's not to get lost in the fray here is both teams were looking for their first win of the season, this young season here, because the Lions were coming into this game 0-2, and Calgary was only lost their only game there against the Ottawa Red Blacks here. And the first quarter looked like BC was definitely going to get their first win of the year here, as 2 free agent signings who definitely proved big here for the BC Lions in this game, is Mike Riley, who some say is arguably is the top quarterback in the league, went back to BC, and John White, who is a very great running back there when he's healthy here. But both Mike Riley and Jonathan White here definitely were big on the first Lions drive here. And then after a 2-point conversion there, the Lions took an 8-0 lead here in the first quarter here. Fortunately, Calgary's offense definitely sputtered out of the gate here and couldn't get anything going, and so the BC Lions on their next drive there eventually scored another touchdown there. I don't know if you could say there was some controversy here, as during that drive, in the second drive there, Trey Roberson looked like he had another interception. As I said, he's on pace for 54 interceptions on the season here. He actually made an interception and looked like a pick 6 to the house there, and just what Calgary needed there. However, Devon Claybrooks challenged on the play that there was roughing the passer, and that got overturned. So unfortunately, that pick 6 for Calgary was wiped off the boards there, and roughing the passer results in an automatic first down there. And eventually, the BC Lions punched it in, and they had a 15-0 lead, and that was the score after the first quarter. It was 15-0 for the BC Lions there. So things were not looking good for the Calgary Stampeders, and definitely wasn't encouraging, because I felt Calgary let the game slip away against the Red Blacks there. BC was able to get another touchdown here, as former Stampeder Lamar Durant put one here. So the first 3 drives here, the the BC Lions were able to get a touchdown here. So at that point, after a single by Calgary before that drive, the BC Lions had a 22-1 lead here. So, and with just under 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, so things are looking worse here. It's down 22-1 here. However, Calgary eventually got the drive going and got their first drive with a touchdown here. So maybe we can build on some positive here. It was deep in their DC territory there that Calgary was faced with a 3rd and 3 situation. It was 3rd and 3 in the goal there, so you're thinking, well, if we turn it over, BC starts at their own 3 there. However, we did capitalize in with an Eric Rogers touchdown there from Bully Levi Mitchell, and then also got a 2-point conversion. So Calgary got back in, got somewhat on the board here, but they were down 22-9 here with just over a minute. This was late in the second quarter here. And then after a kickoff single here, it was 22-10 for the BC Lions here, and I might say this could be one of the events where the game might have started turning around for the Calgary Stampeders here, as the BC Lions, they were driving down into Calgary territory there, and as it got down to the final strokes there, a couple yards, and it got to the point where the last play of the second or the first half here, to end up the second quarter here, the Calgary Stampeders defense actually was able to do a goal line stand here and stop the BC Lions to end the first half. We were still down 22-10 there, but that goal line stand definitely gave some positive vibes going to the locker room here. Definitely things could have been worse if BC would have scored a late touchdown there to end the first half there, but we had a goal line stand and we kept the game at 22-10 going into halftime here. Still got some work to do, but this team needed some positive vibes going in. So the third quarter here, it was definitely a defensive battle here. It was definitely a lot of back and forth. The only thing we can highlight in this third quarter scoring-wise is that Rene Paredes made a 43-yard field goal. So after the third quarter, it was 22-13 for the BC Lions here. And then BC, they kept hanging around here, and the first points the BC Lions scored in the fourth quarter here was Sergio Casillo made a 21-yard field goal to make it 25-13 for the BC Lions there. And then Calgary got another quick touchdown afterwards by, once again, Eric Rogers, and then we got the two-point conversion. So next thing you know, we got ourselves at least back into the game to make it 25-21 for the BC Lions there. However, this is what looked like the dangle here, and after when the BC Lions took a 7-minute drive, so half of the fourth quarter, the BC Lions were able to march it down the field. Once again, Mike Riley, John White kept chipping away at the time here, and when they scored the touchdown there and the convert, the BC Lions took a 32-21 lead here, and suddenly people were starting to leave the game here with about 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter here. However, let's cue the comeback here, as what makes the Canadian Football League a beautiful thing sometimes is no lead is safe. If you had a 32-21 lead with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter of the NFL, yes, you can leave early to beat the traffic. However, not in the CFL here. That's when people started leaving here, and I think maybe people today are thinking, damn, I should have stayed till the end. Well, here's the comeback here as Calgary started to drive with Bully Von Mitchell here. However, Nick Arbuckle looked like he took over on the short yardage play, but he stayed in here. I'll get back to why Nick Arbuckle stayed in for the rest of the game here, but he looks like he played hero here. As next thing you know, we kept the ball, got the first down here. One receiver that I like that seemed to have some upside here is Richard Sindati here. He made one big catch to get deep into BC territory here. And then Nick Arbuckle, as he's pretty good at, running in touchdown himself. And then we got a two-point conversion by Eric Rogers here. So this brought the clock down to about 1:20 to go in the fourth quarter here and cut the lead down to 32-29 for the BC Lions here. So we were in that territory of, should we try the onside kick or hope our defense can stop the Lions and get the ball back here? Well, the Calgary Stampeders decided to go for the onside kick, and that decision definitely paid off, because when you go for the onside kick, you got to make sure the kick goes up high, but has to go at least 10 yards here, and this is where you get your hands team in. Well, Eric Rogers recovered the onside kick, so the Calgary Stampeders were able to maintain possession of the ball here and got the ball about midfield there. And once again, Nick Arbuckle, just like the previous drive, was driving the Stampeders down the field, and once again, Richard Sindani made another huge, miraculous catch there to get deep into BC territory there, and earth fitting, Eric Rogers received yet another touchdown there to give Calgary a 36-32 lead there. So just like that, Calgary came back and took a late 36-32 lead here with about 31 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter there. So let's hold on here, as still got Mike Rowley and company here, and he could still pull off some magic here. However, things didn't work out for the BC Lions there, as Mike Rowley got stopped on the first play there, and second play there, and definitely the game got sealed here, as now he got sacked here, and actually it was the only time he got sacked in this game there. However, he fumbled the ball, and Cordero Law was able to recover the fumble, and Calgary was able to go in victory formation and sit on it and run out the clock, as the Calgary Stampeders had an amazing comeback behind victory and won this game 36-32 there, to leaving their record at 1-1 for the 2019 season here. But why Nick Arbuckle stayed in the game there? Well, apparently Bo had a sore right shoulder here, so definitely got to have some question marks here on how is Bo's health here going down the stretch here, because things are going to get a little tougher here when you look ahead to the schedule here. So that's the game recap. Well, there's lots of numbers here I can recap, because a lot of players in this game had a pretty good game themselves here. On the Calgary side of the ball, Bo was 23 for 34 there. I'm going to say he had a little bit of a rough game here, but he threw for 252 yards, had 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception here. And then Nick Arbuckle, he was 9 for 9 for 93 yards, threw for that 1 touchdown, and run one himself here. Although our running game, once again, has been our Achilles heel here, as we weren't able to get anything on the ground running in. Once again, Don Jackson had a rough game. He had 8 carries for 26 yards here, and although a couple of receivers definitely stood out here, while Keith Ambles was the leading receiver with 9 catches for 100 yards yards-wise, but I think Eric Rogers definitely had the better game there. 9 catches for 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then he covered the onside kick there, so it was definitely... It was windy, but it's a very beautiful day in the neighborhood at the end of the day here. And on the defensive side of the ball here, one of the guys that we picked up late last season, who we were counting on to maybe be a big role in the front 7 here, is Corey Greenwood. He had 8 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble there. So good game in itself. Although if you look on the BC side of the ball here, Mike Riley, he had a great game. All things considered, he was 36 for 42. He was definitely very accurate all game. Threw for 354 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception there. John White, he had a great game on the ground and in the air here. On the ground, he had 14 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown here. In the air, he received 9 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown there. So he definitely is racking up the all-purpose yards there. And then Brian Burnham for the BC Lions had a great game receiving. He had 10 catches for 93 yards. But let's also highlight former Stampeder, Lamar Durant. He had 5 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown there in the back in the first quarter there. And then if you look on the defensive side of the ball, Gary Peters had 9 tackles, and Jordan Herman-Reed, he had 9 tackles and a sack there. So there was definitely a lot of individual performances here, but Calgary Stampeders definitely showed some heart and determination, and I'm going to say that goal line stand, and just we made the clutch plays when we needed to pull out the victory in the fourth quarter there. Who knows, this could be something we could look back on later in the season here, because the Calgary Stampeders go into July here, 1-1 here. BC Lions, despite making all the headlines with making all the big free agent signings there, including signing Mike Riley there, they're actually 0-3 right now and lost a couple tough games, including this one by my Calgary Stampeders here. So looking ahead to July here, I think it's going to be a little bit of a tougher month here, because 3 of the next 4 games, they're going to be on the road here, starting on Saturday, July 6th. This will be week 4. The Calgary Stampeders head to Saskatchewan at Mosaic Stadium with an 8 p.m. kickoff. I did look at possibly planning on going to that game, but looking at the cost and a lot of other factors there, I decided to not go just because I felt it was going to cost just as much for me to go to Regina for an extended weekend as opposed to what I plan to do at the end of August there. So at least I'll sit home and watch the game there. And it's always going to be a tough game in Saskatchewan here. First battle of the Dickinsons in the regular season bowl here. So we'll see how that game plays out. And then the next week, Saturday, July the 13th, Week 5, the Calgary Stampeders stay on the road here. But this time they go to Hamilton at Tim Hortons Field. 5 p.m. kickoff. All these times I give are all mountain time here. And right now, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are looking like they're the beasts of the East here. But they did play Montreal and Toronto first couple weeks of the season here. But they're looking very dominant here. So a couple of tough games here. And then the only home game that the Calgary Stampeders will have in July, this will be on Thursday, July the 18th, Week 6. We'll be taking on the Toronto Argonauts. That'll be a 7 p.m. kickoff back home at Command Stadium. And part of the concert series, we'll have the Northern Pikes come and play at halftime there. So I'll probably capture a video of that. Post that on there. I don't care about the copyright thing. I just want to share the experiences. So, because I did that with the James Barker Band last year. So, that's Week 6. And then to wrap up July, Calgary Stampeders will be playing Thursday, July the 25th, Week 7. They'll be heading to the capital to take on the Ottawa Red Blacks at TD Place Stadium, 5 p.m. kickoff there. We'll see how we can figure out the Ottawa Red Blacks there, as they definitely found a way to win one late against us there in the home opener there. So that's how the Calgary Stampeders look going into July here. I mean, unfortunately, we still got some injuries on the offensive line with Rad Erdos, and one of the big injuries, and as well as one of the guys that we signed that's also on the injuries is Leon Johnson for the offensive line there. And then also the fact that Florian Ormandy, one of the defensive guys that we count on, is still hurt. And then we obviously lost Junior Turner here, but the big question is about Bo is how hurt is he, and will he miss some time, and will that affect our fate this year? I mean, I'm going to say Nick Arbuckle looked pretty good, and so would Moncel Corset for the third stringer. Looked pretty good in preseason there, but it's only preseason, but both of these guys have been with the system for the last couple of years there, so we have some continuity there, but I still say our best chance of winning is with Bo here, and hopefully he's not too injured and won't miss much time if things can be. But I guess I'll recap that in the July video there. So, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe here, as the Defense of the Grey Cup is on here, and I do this monthly here to continue on Season 2 here. So, as I say, I'll see you in the next video, and go Stamps go.